Welcome to the channel, everybody. The journey to find a driver for my golf bag continues for 2024. I've been doing loads of testing, loads of reviews, not only on this channel, but also for Foremost. So I've had now the opportunity to test lots of clubs, and I've got to say, there's a couple that are starting to stand out. So I thought in today's video, as it's raining outside, we'd come into the studio and give you a bit of an insight into what is going on, well, under this head cover, and certainly what happened last year under this head cover. Now last year, you may remember that I put out a post to say that the Stealth 2 Plus, in its standard setup, stiff shaft, 9-degree head, gave me the most ball speed that I've ever got from a driver. I got 158, and I think I got one up at 159 in my practice session, but 158 was actually recorded from here in the studio. And I thought today that we would put this driver up against the club that I've put in the bag right now, which is its predecessor, the Qi10 LS model. Now these drivers are actually very close to being the same. And what I mean by that is that probably they don't look the same, they should perform actually very similar, and they're definitely designed for the same type of golfer. Now for those of you that know, in the last sort of 4 or 5 years, I've been very much attached to Titleist. I've had a contract with Titleist. Well, that put me in a position where even if I found a driver that I really liked, I couldn't actually put it in the bag. And to be fair, you know, the TSI3, the TSR2, those drivers performed extremely well for me, and I was getting some fantastic results from all the models that I've put in the bag from Titleist. And there's always going to be just a slight difference whenever you go from one driver manufacturer to another driver manufacturer. But when it came to the TaylorMade, it actually gave me the most ball speed that I'd ever got. And I tried my hardest with those Titleists to try and get that 158 mile an hour out of it, which tells me that there's something in those TaylorMade drivers that maybe just gives us that little bit more ball speed. And is it to do with that carbon face that we're seeing in the red in the Stealth 2, but also the blue in the new Qi10. Now I swing the club at around 106 to 100, let's say 9 mile an hour. Probably on the golf course I'm closer to the 106 mark, but in the studio I can really launch myself. When I'm seriously warmed up, I can get it up to that kind of 109 swing speed, which, like I said before, gives me that ball speed of maxing out at around 156 if I get my strike absolutely spot on. Now, if I get a club to go in the toe position, so with my strike position in the toe, that ball speed will really drop off. However, it will still launch nice and high. It will start out to the right-hand side, pretty similar to that shape there, and it will gear back towards my target, but my ball speed drops off, spin drops down, and therefore I still get it out there at a decent yardage. Now, when it came to the Stealth 2 driver, for me, the feel off the face from that carbon effect that TaylorMade have focused on gave it kind of like a dull sound off the face. And for me personally, and this isn't for everybody, but I really like that dull sound off the face. Drivers in the past, what companies have been able to do, certainly on tour level, is they've been able to put a little bit of glue inside the head, which actually brings that face down in its kind of acoustics, dulling that sound, which I know lots of players do like. However, when I was hitting, let's say, Titleist drivers, Cobra drivers, all the other drivers that are metal-faced, that was giving that kind of tinny kind of sound. And for me personally, if I can get something that just drops down that acoustic slightly, then I'm absolutely game for that. And to me, getting more ball speed doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to hit the ball any better or any further. You might get more ball speed, but that might rev the ball up a little bit too much in its spin and therefore drop off just a little bit shorter. But also, you could hit the ball a lot further, but be a little bit more all over the planet. And the problem with that is that for confidence, for me personally, I want to see myself hitting fairways. I don't necessarily want to see it 10, 15 yards further down there in a pond or in the trouble, you know? So for me, I think actually ball speed's important, but hitting fairways is even more important. A couple of other things that I wasn't necessarily a massive fan of, and I've got to say it's probably growing on me as I'm starting to use that Qi10 driver, but when I looked at the sim driver, my brother used to use a sim driver, and I didn't like the look of it. I didn't like the pear-shaped effect. It was very thin kind of in the neck and then really bulbous when it went into that kind of top right-hand corner there. So I didn't really like that. Now, the other thing that I didn't necessarily like when it came to the kind of stealth and again sim models from TaylorMade is this kind of rail along the front. Didn't really do it for me. And then on the back here, they have this big stealth logo on the bottom here, which again, I just like it a little bit cleaner. Which are two really key things that we've now moved into when it comes to the Qi10 driver. And this is kind of right the way through the range, whether you're in the Max or whether you're in the Qi10 or this one, which is the LS. It's a much cleaner look down by the ball. And I've done reviews on these particular drivers, so if you haven't checked those out, make sure you go and check them out. But like I said, a lot cleaner on top. We've kind of lost that rail from the top line there. It actually, that little white streak actually allows you to be able to frame the ball really quite nicely. And then on the back, there's a subtle mark of Qi10 on the back corner there. But to be honest with you, when you look down, you don't actually really see it. So for me personally, that's definitely a win. I do also like that little bit of carbony effect on the top there. So that kind of look is taking away that probably that pear-shaped look. But like I said, it's kind of growing on me. And there was a lot of people when it came to kind of like the red look on the Stealth and Stealth 2, they didn't really like it. You know, people that didn't necessarily like people like Man United or Liverpool, they kind of associated it with football colours. Those are the conversations that I had with people. And for me personally, I don't have that problem because I'm not really too worried about colours and things like that. However, when I listen to the word stealth, I think something that quietly goes about its business. When you've got a red-faced driver, there's nothing stealth about that, is there? However, this Qi10, to me, looks more stealthy than the Stealth 2, definitely. It's good numbers, really good numbers. Oh, I hit the line. And talking about numbers, let's have a little look at the numbers now. But what I will say to you is that every time I come into this studio, and this is something that you need to be mindful of when you're actually out playing golf and warming up, certainly in the net before you get out and play, is that my numbers fluctuate around quite a lot actually. My swing speed jumps up and down because of how I'm feeling, how cold it is in here, certainly how cold it is outside, or how warm it can be. I can really pick that swing speed up. But also my strike can change around a little bit. So if I get that strike in the poor position, I can then start to lose ball speed a little bit too much and therefore lose my yardage. So just a number of little things that we need to think about when we start to look at numbers from previous kind of shots to now what we're doing today. And if we start off with that Stealth 2 Plus driver, 154.4 mile an hour off the club face, and kind of really remember, I only hit one shot or two shots at 158 and 159 from it. So the best that I've got from this particular driver today is 155.9 mile an hour off the club face. If we look at the spin numbers from it, I'm getting 2,371 on an average, which is really quite gameable for me. Remember, this is set at standard at 9 degrees. I'm 34 yards in my peak height and I'm 266 yards. And you know, that's good. That is, for me, that is absolutely fantastic. One out there, well, two out there, one at 272, which is only 3 yards left, so that's down the middle at 272, and then another one a little bit further to the left at 6.6 yards left at 273, so actually some really good numbers. There's actually one there at 247, which will distort those numbers as well. So actually not a great shot, was it? 151.5 on an average kind of ball speed there. If I just actually take that one out, you know, 155 on an average, and now I got it up to 271 with that jump, put that back in. Now, if we then look at the Qi10 LS model, what am I getting there? 153.5, so still pretty good for me. The best that I got though, look at that, 154.2, two of those. So I'm a little bit down from what I'm getting out of that Stealth 2 Plus model. Spin-wise though, not a great deal of difference in those, is there? Look, they're 2,350 on an average, peaking out pretty similar at 35 yards high, and an average carry of 264 yards. Best to best, what have I got there? I got 273 out of that Stealth 2 compared to 268 out of the Qi10. So really, from today's experimenting, there's not a lot of difference between them. So then it comes down to, you know, which one do I kind of like the look of? And as I said before, I think the cleaner look of the Qi10 LS is certainly something that's drawing my eye more than what I'm seeing out of the detailing effect out of the Stealth 2. However, what I would say is that if this is going to give me the best performance, then that's a win absolutely that's a win and something for me to consider. The other concern that I have is throughout the years I've seen, certainly in the last couple of years, I've seen this face kind of start popping off with some of those players that hit it hard. Now, I'm not somebody that hits the ball particularly hard, so I would have pretty much confidence in the fact that this face would stay pretty good for me. But I feel like when they've moved into this Qi10, they've really focused on the bonding of the face to the head, and that is actually really important and gives you lots of confidence, doesn't it? Because ultimately, if I find something that I really like out of this driver and then it pops off or it damages it, whatever happens, then I'm going to be a bit disappointed if I end up kind of not being able to use that driver. So with that in mind, I think from the looks point of view and the fact that actually they're performing very similar, I'm going to stick with the Qi10 LS certainly for now. So there you go, just a little insight into what I'm up to when it comes to putting drivers into my bag. Like to hear what you think about that video. Want to hear what you're doing about your driver for this year. Are you sticking with what you've got, or are you looking at getting fitted for something new? And the important word there is fitted. Make sure you get fitted for whatever club you put into your bag for 2024. If you like what you're seeing from the videos, hit that subscribe button and I'll see you again. Well, I'll see you on the next video.